Hello everybody, welcome back to Fairfield Junction, and today we've got another review for us. It was another Bachmann loco that we've got for us today, as we can see. I don't think I've done a Bachmann loco for a while, or saying that, I haven't really done a lot of locos in a while. Don't really tend to do as many reviews these days as I think I used to, so I definitely need to get back into it a bit more, I think. And this is quite a good loco, I think, to get back into it, I suppose, with. Hopefully I'll end up doing some more reviews over time, a bit more commonly as well. But today's loco, as we could see, it's a class 25 that we have for us today. Haven't looked at one before, so this is going to be quite nice. Obviously, there's loads of other locos that I've looked at before, with loads of different variations and liveries and stuff. But this is a loco that I haven't looked at before, so it's going to be quite a nice thing, I suppose, looking at a model that I haven't looked at before. And it's quite an old model, as we can see. This is the older Bachmann class 25, because it's older packaging as such. Obviously Bachmann do still do their class 25, I'm pretty sure. I don't think they've actually done one for a while. I could be wrong, but I don't think there's been one for a few years or so. So they might retool it at some point. I'm pretty sure it hasn't received the latest tooling with like the proper like updated circuit board, like Plux 22 or factory speakers, all stuff like that. I'm pretty sure they haven't done that yet. Again, I could be wrong. They probably have done. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they've updated it in a little while. But still, the most modern version, as far as I'm aware, is still good. It's 21 pin, all lights, all the good stuff really. So it's still a pretty good model. But this version, being the earliest version, if you like, it's the first sort of model of the 25 that they did. Obviously, it's not going to be that good, quite as good as that. But I'm sure that we can appreciate that really being an older model. Obviously the class 25s in real life, known as rats, if you didn't know that, because you could literally find these all over the UK. They really were everywhere, literally right down from Devon and Cornwall, right up to the borders of Scotland and so forth. Literally everywhere. Obviously plenty of liveries available as well. You also got BR Green, which is what we've got today. This is the BR two-tone green livery that we've got today. BR Blue, another common one. And they obviously received other sort of, I think some of them received some engineers liveries, I think, as well. Or actually, that might be the 24 that I'm thinking of, actually. So it might only be a small handful of liveries. But I'm sure there's still plenty of variation out there, depending what you want. Plenty out there to choose from, I'm sure. Obviously, Bachmann aren't the only ones to do them. I'm pretty sure Helgen have done the 25 as well, in double O gauge. But I don't think they've really done that for a while. I could be wrong. They might have released it recently, but I could be wrong. I can't remember off the top of my head, I don't follow Helgen too much, but I could be wrong. But if you do want one, there should be plenty out there for you to choose from if you do want one. Obviously, this is the older version, the older Bachmann version. If we look at the end of the box, we can see the model code for this exact one is 32-411. It's a class 25-2 diesel, BR green. It's BR two-tone green, but it's the same thing really. It is DCC ready. It doesn't say on the box, but this model is 8-pin DCC ready. So if you want to chip it, 8-pin socket inside, 4 screws, take the body off, take the blanking plate out, put your chip in, body back on, screws back in, jobs are good and all done. Nice and easy to do. Obviously the latest version is 21-pin, I'm pretty sure. Obviously this version, again, being older, it's not. But apart from that, there's not much else on the box really. Quite bland in terms of information on the box really. So might as well open her up and have a look. So lift up this sleeve, take her out and get inside. Now I have already opened this model and ran it and chipped it and everything, so there's already a chip inside her. She's already been ran in and all sorts. So I've had her for a few months, but I haven't got around to doing a review for her for a while. So we can see her there. Obviously usually she'd be wrapped up in tissue paper or the sort of, I think, the plastic like stuff that Bachmann I think used to use as well. And obviously there would be instructions inside, but I think I've already put those. Or did she come with some? I can't remember if she actually came with her instructions or not, being second hand, but I could be wrong. But obviously we've got the nice card inserts here, so you've got a nice photo of the real thing. I think the photo of this one is actually the exact model inside as well, D5233. Yeah, it is D5233, so that's quite nice. We've got the real thing there and the model inside, so that's good. Class 25-2. And then if we flip it over, we can see here a nice brief history on the class 25. So we'll have a quick read through some of this. So the class 25, obviously, when the top system came in 1971, that's obviously when it got it. They were introduced in 1961, so yeah, quite old. Developed from the earlier Class 24. Yes, that's one thing. If you put a Class 24 and a Class 25 side by side, you will see that there is quite a lot of resemblance between the two. They are very similar models, although I think they might use different engines. I could be wrong, but I think they do use different engines, because the Class 24, I believe, is a Sulzer type diesel, but I don't think this one is. Again, I could be wrong. I'm sure it'll say it's in here somewhere. Following 24 Baby diesel introduced in 1958. Following publication of the British Railway Modernisation Plan 1955, a number of diesel types were built within defined power ratios. The Class 25s were rated as Type 2s if it was necessary to provide more power, and they worked in pairs. Hold on. So to provide more power, then they... Oh, let's start that again. So Type 2 locomotives, and if it was necessary to provide more power, they were worked in pairs, okay? Particularly in their later years. Okay, that's fair enough. So maybe in the later years, with other locos coming out and being stronger and more powerful, these probably had to be double-headed to handle the same sort of trains that those locos were expected, I'm guessing then. The Class 25s will have a true mixed traffic locomotive. Yeah, that's true. So haulage-wise, you can haul whatever you want with these, passenger trains, freight trains, whatever you want. Despite only being a Type 2 locomotive, the Class 25s were well suited to replacing steam traction on duties over a wide area of the British railway system. Locomotives were allocated to depots across the Eastern, London, Midlands, Scottish and Western regions. Although not allocated to the Southern region, they were often seen on workings from other regions. A closure of many lines in the 60s resulted in the loss of a considerable amount of passenger work, and the class were more likely to be found on parcels, newspaper and freight duties. So yeah, nice bit of information there. Plenty to sort of introduce you there to the real thing if you aren't very familiar with it. It doesn't say when a lot of them were withdrawn though, which is quite surprising. I thought it'd probably say that on there, but it doesn't. But they were sort of started withdrawn. I think sort of around the 80s is really when they started to get rid of a lot of them, I believe. Just because probably they weren't very standard, maybe compared to a lot of other locos, maybe not as reliable as well. But they still had a decent life, definitely a good sort of 20-year life roughly, which isn't too bad, and they served it very well. So if we just grab the loco, get her out of this polystyrene tray, there we go, take her out, and then we can have a look at her in detail. Now, one thing to note before we do look at her in detail actually, is this loco being second-hand, it's there's going to be a couple of things that aren't quite as they normally would be compared to if you probably got one of these. First thing is the couplings. She does have she doesn't have NEM couplings on this model. It's quite surprising on a loco like this. You'd expect her to have NEM couplings, but she doesn't, because they are screwed in. As you can see, there's a screw there and a screw there, and that's what hold the couplings on. And she did come with them. She did come with her original couplings, but I haven't fitted them because the previous owner, as you can probably see by this metal bar here, has fitted the goalpost type couplings, which a lot of exhibition layouts usually use on locos, because it's for a start they look more realistic. You can also fit the buffer beam detail without it interfering with the original couplings as well, because we can see on both ends we've got the buffer beam detail on both ends, which has been fitted by the previous owner, and again another goalpost type coupling there. So obviously if you were to buy one of these, you probably wouldn't have this detail fitted, and you'd probably have you definitely wouldn't have the goalpost couplings fitted either. You'd have the original tension locks fitted. So apart from that, that is pretty much the only difference I think compared to what it would be like if you bought one of these. The goalpost couplings, the NEM, I keep saying NEM couplings as I'm used to these locos having NEM couplings. The original couplings that come with the loco are these small slimline tension lock couplings, which is nice. They're not big ones or medium ones. They are the nice small ones, which is nice, and they are nice and easy to fit if you do want to as well. If they aren't fitted, they are nice and easy to fit. Again, just take it out with the screw, put the coupling on, screw it back in. That's all you need to do. Nice and easy. So apart from that, as we can see, everything else on the loco looks to be basically as it should be. The buffer beam detail is very nice. It's been nicely fitted. It is probably a bit chunky compared to what it would be if the loco was newer. It is probably quite chunky, especially the couplings there, the chain links coupling / screw link coupling. It is probably quite on the large side. Again, being an older model, that's basically probably expect that, because obviously moulding back then probably wouldn't have been as good as it is now. But still, despite that, it looks good. Everything looks very nice. It's definitely adds a bit more to the loco. She has got sprung buffers, very nice metal sprung buffers, and they do feel very good as well. You've got a separately fitted lamp bracket there, a separately fitted handrail on the front as well, separately fitted handrails around the doors. Some of them I think are slightly bent, but again, this loco is quite old, so can't expect it to be absolutely pristine. The bogey detail is very nice. And you can see there, it's all nicely moulded. All the axle boxes are painted. It looks very, very good. The livery application as well. Just look at this. The livery application is very, very nice. You've got a beautiful transition between the colours there. It's all beautifully applied. Again, more handrails. You've got the running number as well. More sprung buffers and the other details. There is a driver in the cab, I believe. Yes, there is. There's two crew members actually. So you've got a driver and a second man in the cab, which is nice. So you've got the head guard box as well. There are no lights on this model though. That's one thing to mention. This model does not have any lights at all. You could fit some if you wanted to, I suppose. I don't think it'd be too hard. Obviously you've got the lenses there for the tail lights, which you probably could quite easily fit some LEDs behind. I can't remember how much space there is behind them, because the chassis block is quite big, but I think there should just about be enough room there for you to fit some if you wanted to. And also the headco box lights would be very easy to fit, because obviously there's loads of room inside there behind that in the cab roof. So it's a shame that we don't have any lights factory fitted, but again, being an older model, that's kind of to be expected, to be honest. But still, even I don't think it would have been that hard for them to fit some lights, especially probably some headco box lights. But still, we can't complain too much. And again, this model was an absolute bargain price, so you can't really complain. And she still looks the part as well. That's the main thing. She still looks very good and very, very heavy as well. Loads of weight inside. All the wheels pick up. All of the wheels are driven as well. So she's going to run nice and reliably and really well as well. Although this loco was quite a noisy one. The motor was quite a noisy one when I got her. But luckily chipping her definitely quietened the motor down a bit, which is good. The roof is not too bad either. You've got a nice separately fitted fan there. Some decent moulding over that grille. Probably not as good as on other models that we've seen, but again, she's old, so it's probably not going to be as good as newer models, but it still looks pretty good. Again, it's not too bad. It's nice that we've got proper detail there instead of it being all moulded. And you've got more detail as well. Again, pretty much all moulded, but we've got a bit of colour on the exhaust and everything, which is quite nice. Loads of riveted detail as well. You can see all of that picked out. Obviously, there's no engine room detail or anything, just behind the windows. It's just the chassis block. So, yeah, not too bad. Obviously, not the most detailed model in the world. We have seen better, but again, considering her age, she's not too bad. She's not too bad at all. She looks good. She weighs a lot, and she does run pretty well as well, which is nice. So I think what we need to do now is head up to the layout, put her on the track, and see how she runs. Okay, so here we are, back up on the layout once again. So if we just grab the loco, we can put her on. Should be rather simple, as she's only a Bobo diesel, so not as many wheels to get on compared to some other locomotives. Nearly there. There we go, she's on. So should all be ready to go. Obviously she's got no lights, so we don't need to worry about putting those on. So the only thing to do really is just give her some power and see how she moves. So I don't know what direction we're going at the moment, so we'll just give her some power and see what happens. Okay, we're going forward, that's good. Obviously she is chipped already, as I mentioned earlier. 8-pin DCC ready the loco is, so nice and easy to put decoder in. Obviously if this loco was more modern, it would likely be 21-pin or Plux 22. But I'm pretty sure that the latest versions of these are the 21-pin versions. I don't think Bachmann have done these with the Plux 22 decoder sockets yet. So yeah, that's that. Let's see what our slow speed is like. Obviously it is going to be slightly better compared to what it probably would be on analog, although that does kind of depend on the decoder. I think the decoder in this is a gauge master type one. It's not the Ruby series. I think it's more of a regular one, which is it's not too bad, as we can see. It's a little bit jerky. I have messed around with the settings a little bit on the decoder, but overall it's not too bad. I think we have seen slightly better in the past, but yeah, not too bad. Fairly quiet. She's not the quietest runner though. She is a bit of a noisy one. The motor certainly does have a bit of a growl to it in this, which can be a bit annoying. But then again, she's older, so her performance probably isn't going to be as good as it might be if she was more modern. But still, apart from that, it's not too bad. Let's get it going a bit faster past the camera. Yeah, I don't know how well you can hear, but she does have a bit of a groan to her. It's getting a bit faster in the other direction. Let get to a stop. There we go. Let's bring her back towards the camera again. So yeah, overall performance, it's not too bad at all. Definitely not absolutely top notch. She is a bit of a noisy one, not too quiet really. But then again, we have seen noisier locos, I think, in the past. I've definitely experienced them. So overall, not too bad. Not too much to complain about really. So I think all we need to do now, I think this will couple up a rick of wagons to her. I think a nice little freight train will look quite good. So obviously she doesn't need running in. She's already got plenty of miles under her belt. So if I just grab the rake of wagons, which I've got just out of shots, we'll bring them round. Obviously we are going to be running her obviously with these goalpost couplings fitted. So it's not going to be the standard tension locks, but still they should be fine. I'm saying that I know it'll be fine because I've already run her with these before. But we shouldn't have any issues at all really. And obviously these goalpost couplings, obviously whilst they're not standard really, they do look slightly better when at least when the loco's running light engine. I've got a great bigger tension lock coupling sticking out from the loco, but still overall, yeah, can't really say much more about that really. But anyway, let's get her running and see what she's like. So yeah, as we can hear, she's quite noisy, isn't she? Definitely not the quietest loco in the world. She has been fully serviced by me since I got her not too long ago. So that is, this is just how she is basically. It's not at every speed. If she was going slower, she is quieter, and when she's going faster as well, she is a bit quieter. So it's more the medium speeds really, which makes this noise, which is a bit of a shame because it's these speeds and that you're more likely to run her at. But it's glossing over the slightly awful noise. She's not too bad. She's running nice and smoothly. She's not stuttering. She's not cutting out. Not too bad, really. Well, overall, I think I have to say she's not too bad, really. Obviously, she is getting quite old now, and she is showing it in areas. Especially, I think, with that motor noise. This definitely doesn't define sort of all Bachmann diesels from this era. So I do have other, quite a few other Bachmann diesels from around this time that definitely aren't quite like this. They're definitely better runners. They're quieter. They're slightly smoother. Detail slightly better as well. They've got lights. But overall, she's not too bad. She's definitely cheaper than a newer Class 25 from Bachmann. And she was certainly a bargain to me as well. I don't think she wasn't even 60 quid. So I think I paid somewhere between 50 and 60 for her. And for that, she definitely can't complain really. You still get a very good loco. She looks the part. She runs pretty well. Overall, not too bad. I would definitely recommend these older Bachmann diesels to you, not just the 25, but all of them in general really. Which, despite their age, they still hold their parts, definitely. Definitely can highly recommend them. And now let's have some ratings for the old Bachmann Class 25 in BR Green. Overall, the loco, I don't think it's too bad, despite its age. The detail, first of all, overall, there's not too much to complain about the detail on the loco, I think. The livery is applied really well, it's all nice and crisp. We've got some nice detail on the body side, you've got nice handrails by the doors. The bogie detail is very nicely done, whilst the separately fitted parts on the loco definitely isn't, the number isn't very, it's not that high really compared to other locos. It's still overall not too bad. It's all nicely moulded, it's all nicely applied. You can't really ask for much more. I definitely think the lack of lights though, it's definitely one thing that lets the loco down. And I feel like there could be a bit more detail here and there, a bit more separately fitted detail. I think the roof is probably the I'd say it's the blandest part of the loco really. It's quite plain, apart from the moulded grille over the fan and obviously the fan underneath. But again, all things considered, considering that she is quite an old loco, overall the detail it's not too bad. She's captured very well. The shape of the 25s are nicely recognised. Overall, it's not too bad. The performance overall on the loco, it's again, I can't really fault it too much. I think the main thing that lets her down slightly is just that she is a bit of a noisy one. Now again, that's obviously not, you can't really prevent that all the time from some locos. It just kind of depends on the motor. And the motor in this one, it certainly is a good one because it's nice and smooth, it's quite strong, it's consistent. It's such a shame that the loco is a bit of a noisy runner, especially around the middle on the speed dial, which is a shame because that's probably going to be the most used section of the speed. But apart from that little niggle of being quite noisy, which again isn't overall her fault really, because she might have been a lot quieter and she might have ran a lot better when she was newer. But still, overall, apart from that, she's certainly not a bad performer at all. Again, smooth, consistent, can't really ask for that for too much more really. The quality of the loco overall, again, it's not too bad. Again, despite her age, overall she's very nicely built, everything's nicely applied. She's the mechanism's not too bad at all. You've got a very good motor, all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup, there's no traction tyres. I think, again, the quality is just let down slightly again by those lack of lights, because we do like to have lights on our locos these days, really, don't we? And I think, again, possibly, I think the motor noise is not really a quality issue, but then again, you never know, it might be. But obviously I can't really comment on it too much because I obviously haven't had the loco since she was new, so I can't really comment on that too much. I just do think maybe she's also let down ever so slightly against by the lack of ever so slight lack of detail here and there. Overall though, it's not really too much to complain about, because overall again she's very nicely built, everything's nicely applied, and certainly for her age she is doing very, very well for herself. So quality overall, it's certainly not too bad at all. Maybe the 8-pin socket is probably slightly low quality, but the fact that she is DTC ready is still very good. It's nice that she's nice and easy to convert to DTC. But yeah, overall, quality overall, not too bad at all. The value for money overall is definitely the best thing about this loco for me personally. I think I paid about £52 for her, which is just an insane bargain if you ask me. Most of the time you'd be paying quite a bit more than that for a Class 25 from Bachmann. But certainly these older ones, especially second hand, you can get them for absolutely insane prices, really, really cheap. So I always recommend looking around. And if you do want a Bachmann Class 25, but you don't want to pay too much for one, definitely go for these older versions because they are worth it. They're very, very cheap, they're very, very good. You can't really complain about them too much. So that's an overall score of 8.75 out of 10. I think that's very well deserved, again, despite how old she is. Obviously, she does need a bit of an update, and well, obviously Bachmann have redone these at some point, because you can get newer versions. But certainly, again, despite being an older model, she definitely has her place in the market, and I can highly recommend her.